Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bring me a little water now. Bring me a little water, soothing. Massive criticism online has been, have you just waited too long? The answer is yeah. I understand that the idea of paint is overwhelming. By the time you actually watch some videos, it'll be impossible for people to say, I can't use this. Me King, I use the James Charles Morphe palette every time I do my makeup, and it's almost finished. James Charles X Morphe palette, such a good palette actually, I will give it to James. I know, but I bought this before his cancellations and before he got super problematic. As you can see, I'm like hitting pan on a couple things. Haven't you made awful videos about me? I've made a couple videos on my channel like everything wrong with Shane Dawson, everything wrong with Jeffree Star, everything wrong with the Ace family, and Shuster, James Charles, it's your turn. I'd say I was reporting on the information presented to the public as I made drama commentary videos at the time. I've always watched your content and admired your makeup skills. Literally, James Charles commented on my video that I uploaded today within the first hour of its coming out. Sister, what are you doing on my channel? But I didn't allow my bias to affect who I reported on. But I can see why you feel that way. I do still believe that James Charles is extremely egotistical and lets the fame get to his head. Unnecessary hate is just ridiculous. Like if he does something messed up, yeah, call him out on it, but he will just breed and people will like give him hate. Nah, I understand. I respect the job. There was so much incorrect information going around at the time, so it really sucked to watch channels reported it and call me awful things with no truth behind them. But a lot of the victims will not come out and speak about it because they are scared, because people don't take these people seriously. They just call them clout chasers. And one thing that I will say about this whole situation is it keeps repeating itself. You're developing a pattern, Mr. James Charles. If they look too young, cut it out. Stop treating your fans like a dating pool because it's a power imbalance and it keeps getting you into trouble. You would think that by now he would learn his lesson. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is literally the definition of insanity. It's been a long time and I finally will be able to set the record straight. So I'm looking forward to moving on. Just was shocking to see you in my DM request saying that LMAO. I'm not trying to get out of anything. No matter what happened, it was unacceptable, embarrassing, and I should have taken the extra steps to research the person I was talking to. There is no excuse. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. This is on me. So James, if you stand by your tweet, fool you twice, shame on you. This is on you. This is on you. You can't blame this on the person again. Yeah, I could see why it would be surprising, lol. But yeah, I haven't stopped watching your content. TBH, I'm not really in that space anymore. I didn't enjoy making drama commentary videos by the end of it. It's one of the huge reasons I do not want to be associated with that community. Today we're going to be speaking about the truth behind why I stopped uploading drama videos. So I took a year off YouTube. That was kind of, like I said, the beginning of the end, and it was at the point where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. It can become so toxic so quick, but they would just make these drama videos that just felt really like catty and nasty, and there was lots of infighting. Apologies if anything I said was too harsh and added to any mental distress. It's alright, and I appreciate the viewership. Ha 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 ha. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. You too. Hope the launch goes well. Excited to see the brand grow. Thank you. Boy, was I wrong. Hey, what's up you guys, it's me Luke and welcome back to another video, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I post commentary videos on movies, TV shows, reality TV, and pop culture, which obviously means celebrities and influencers. So today's video is a bit more serious. I know my look doesn't exactly match it. It's probably not appropriate for me to be serving so much cunt. I recently got a haircut. I watched the Barbie movie last night, so you know, Life in Pink, it's fantastic. Pretty sure it's plastic, not pink, but you get the drill. So I wanted to be cute. Sue me. Don't sue me. Alleged. This is why I don't make these kind of videos anymore. On a real note though, I 2 weeks ago spoke to James Charles in the DMs. Such a random event. He posted about, you know, who should he put on his PR list for his new brand Painted. I responded, obviously not thinking that he would respond back, and he did. I, growing up, was a fan of James Charles. I'm a queer guy who likes wearing makeup. What do you expect? We're pretty much the same age. And I have interacted with him here and there. He's commented on a YouTube video of mine. We've, you know, at one point he followed me back on Twitter, liked my tweets, stuff like that. Eventually he did unfollow me when like he didn't like the kind of content I was making about him, which we'll get into. But I've had my few minor interactions with James here and there over the years, okay? I've made a plethora of videos on him, some that were in defense of him, some that were not. I made videos covering the Bi Sister scandal, and then the other scandal that he had where he was talking inappropriately with underage boys. I was pretty firm against him, okay? And I stand by that. I will say though that in the DMs when I was messaging him, a kind of cloud came over me. I felt like I had to be really nice. I wasn't trying to have a fight in the DMs. I said a lot of things that I felt like he wanted to hear, and by the time I was finished talking to him, I was kind of like, what the hell just happened? If you ever chat with someone in the DMs who's like a celebrity and like has millions of followers, it's hard to describe. I'm actually kind of glad it happened low-key, because it kind of gave me an understanding of the whole power imbalance that I've discussed with talking to people with millions of followers and how people feel pressured in DMs. I'm not saying that he was placing pressure on me, but I felt a pressure to, you know, be cordial. I will also say that because I took some time off of YouTube for a year when, you know, my mental health was not doing well and, you know, making videos about so much toxic behavior and drama and commentary was really getting to me, I kind of completely detached myself from that space. If you've been watching me, you would know that. And it's only been in the past couple months where I've slowly started watching, you know, some of the old drama channels, which were once my colleagues, and interacting with them and making videos here and there. I reacted to Shane Dawson's comeback. I made that video a month ago about everything happening with Colleen. And I've kind of decided with myself that I only want to make videos about influencer drama or scandals or controversies that I'm actually passionate about. That way I feel like it's genuine. So I'm still going to do my movie and TV show stuff because that's fun. But videos like this, I feel compelled to do this. And I don't make it easily. When I made that Colleen video, I spent days pondering if I was going to make it. This video, even longer, especially because I chatted with James in the DMs. And it was one thing specifically it said to me where there was so much misinformation and he was about to set the record straight. On the 4th of July, he said that to me and I was like, what is he talking about? I spent ages thinking, is he going to come out with a mini documentary? Is he going to come out with a YouTube video? What's going to happen? And then on the 14th of July, literally what's that, like a week or two later, this Cosmopolitan article comes out and everyone's talking about it on Twitter. So many people are making videos about it. And I was like, what is going on? So I read the article and I was flabbergasted, shocked to say the least, because I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. But the stuff that he said and the author said in the article was just so messed up. And the way they tried to minimize things and paint stuff in a different light and play him to be the victim just really didn't sit right with me. And because I detached myself from the YouTube drama space for such a long time, I feel like I'd honestly forgotten a lot of what had happened back then, and I wanted to give myself a refresh. So I went back and watched some of my old videos on the situation that happened, you know, beginning of 2021, and I realized like, oh my god, I cannot believe how messed up this whole situation was, how many alleged victims of James Charles there were, and how I just decided to just, you know, apologize to him in the DMs for adding to the toxicity that could have affected his mental health. When at the end of the day, I'm like, I didn't do that. I was just trying to hold him accountable like everyone else. I feel like there are times where I felt that way to certain influences where I was like, oh, you know, I felt like I was a bit harsh. At times I got a bit nasty. That's why I stopped making a lot of those videos. But in this situation, I feel like I was kind of on the right side. Like I was trying to uplift the voices of these victims and hold them accountable. But there was a lot of mud, you know, there was a lot of murkiness in the way because there were a lot of people who were clout chasing and, you know, purposely DMing James to try to get a reaction so they could screenshot it and put it on TikTok. But that was only a small group of people, and that was clouding all the other people that were like the real victims. And I feel like that's what makes the situation so difficult, because there are people who are doing what James is saying they're doing, but then there are real victims of James Charles. And I think James Charles in a whole, just like back then, was being a goddamn fool. I don't know if anyone will know per se if James Charles does have that twisted thought pattern that led him to do these actions, if what he was doing was intentional, but it's very questionable, that's for sure. And we will get into that in today's video. I'm not here to make excuses for James Charles. I'm here to point things out, and I'm here to debunk the article. So I've created an 18-page PowerPoint situation where I'm going to have excerpts from the article and kind of like proofs from other parts of the internet to debunk what is being discussed in the article, and just kind of give you the bigger picture, because that article is very biased. And that's one thing I am not. That is what I said to James in the DMs, and that is what I stand by. Even when I've been a fan of a YouTuber, I'm not going to be biased about them when I discuss them. I was a fan of Shane Dawson. I'm not anymore. I wasn't biased when I discussed him. A fan of James Charles, wasn't biased when I discussed him. Colleen Ballinger, Tana Mojo. Me being a fan of you is not going to stop me from standing up to what you're doing. And I don't understand what James thought he was doing with this article, because it's not like anybody who was against him was going to buy his brand anyway. It kind of seems like it's backfired. But you know what? I'm done rambling. Let's get into it, because I'm about to dive in to my school project. This video is brought to you with the support of my patrons. Thank you so much to all of you for supporting me and my channel and my content. If you would like to become a patron, click the link in the description or go to patreon.com/LukeAlexander. Cosmopolitan, the 14th of July, 2023. James Charles would like to be uncancelled, please. An article written by Gabrielle Bluestone. More than 2 years after the allegations of sexual impropriety sent the superstar beauty YouTuber into influencer purgatory. Okay, tell me you're just sifting through the online thesaurus without telling me. He's hoping to relaunch himself and his brand with the help of a new makeup line. In a wide-ranging interview with Cosmopolitan, Charles talks about effing up and trying to move on. Whew. So we'll start off with a quote from James himself. Let us begin. I don't want to sit here and effing mope and whine and cry because nobody wants to hear it, said Charles. I had to do a lot of thinking. Like, okay, babe, this is your fault. No, you're not a P word. No, you're not an effing G word. No, you're not another P word, but you made a mistake. Ooh. Sorry, I'm sorry I have to censor myself, guys. At the end of the day, what do you expect? We're on YouTube. So, at this point, you're likely familiar with the specific quid pro inherent celebrity profiles like this. The ones that come together post-cancellation after a respectable amount of time has passed post-cancelable sin. Who wrote I mean, I know who wrote this, but this is messy. It's no surprise that the star's willingness to answer intimate questions about a catastrophic stretch of their lives increases dramatically when they have a project to promote. In today's case, the ostensibly James Charles's new makeup line, Painted. His fans are teenagers. Why are you using these words? But it's also Charles himself, a warier, acceptably contrite, but still a little extra Charles. Is there something wrong with me, or is it the way that this article is written? But it's also Charles himself, a warier, acceptably contrite, but just still a little extra Charles. Like, what does that mean? Still a little extra Charles. This very interview is to be a trial balloon. Its reception just the answer to the question of both of us and maybe you too. If what auto-populates in Google search can be believed, and you're here to ask, is James Charles still cancelled? Well, let's look at the social blade. 2021 and onwards, 2021 was when this all happened. Monthly gained views and monthly subscribers. We can see that there is a downward spike. And there's no speculation. If you just go to James Charles's channel, you can see that he's not getting as many views as he did back in the day. He still can crack 1 mil pretty easy, but back in the day, he was like, 10 million and stuff. And he had a lot of celebrities on his channel too. It was his peak. I would say his career has been affected, as it should, but many argue it should have been affected more. So next one. After all, would a still ousted person be allowed to pose for red carpet cameras at the People's Choice Awards or chat amiably with paparazzi? I'm not sure why this is your defense. Like, plenty of problematic celebrities go on red carpets and chat with the paparazzi. That's not a good point. I put in the pictures here just to show you that he is back in the influencer space. He went to that famous beauty guru TikToker Michaela Nogueira's wedding. He's done a video with popular TikToker Terry Joe. He's here on the red carpet. So I guess what they're trying to say is, like, how could he be cancelled when he's, like, thriving on the red carpet? Which I kind of feel like is not making the point that they think it is. Anyway, would a still banished person have hundreds of thousands of fans enthusiastically engage with his YouTube beauty tutorials? Would a truly exiled person be 24 years old and living in a reportedly $7 million farmhouse? Is this a fluff piece? Like, what are you doing? Anyway, there is a lot riding on the answer. Painted, a solo venture 4 years in the making, launches in just a few weeks. People have speculated that I have partners or investors, which I don't know how that rumor started. I've never heard that before. Yeah, if you're somehow unaware, James Charles has been in the works of making his brand for what feels like literally forever. In the past year, he has been posting a lot of TikTok videos, asking his audience, like, oh, what would you guys prefer? Like, do you prefer this blush? Do you prefer synthetic versus natural makeup brushes?
Help me make a product for my makeup line. Instead of kind of making it a big secret, I wanted to take you behind the scenes and show you guys the lab samples that I've been working on and get your thoughts and feedback in real time so your opinions can actually affect the final product.
So a lot of people critique that, being like, wow, like, you don't have people you can pay for that, like, you're trying to get free labor from your audience. I don't personally see it that way. I think he's just trying to develop a connection back with his audience, but at the same time, it doesn't look very professional. Like, I feel like it's much better to, like, keep things private and then, like, come out with a really professional launch, because it creates a lot more buzz and excitement, whereas this point, it feels like his brand has been launching forever. And the first product he is launching is called Paint, like, it's his paints, and it's like these colorful, like, basically, yeah, like paint for your face, I guess, like where you can use it anywhere in your face.
They are literally formulated and made for any level of artistry.
I don't think that this is going to appeal to many people. Like the average makeup wearer, I think this is going to appeal to like people who like do like crazy transformations, Halloween looks, really expressive makeup artists. You know, I don't think this is an everyday thing. I don't think it's going to do much better than his Morphe palette, which I own and still use. I bought it, you know, pre all of this back in 2020. Yeah, I am curious to see how it's going to go. He's already posted that a makeup artist used it on Nicki Minaj and all that kind of stuff. So he's full gun promoting it now. So this line is fully self-funded. Every single dollar in this has gone into the brand, has come from my personal savings and checking accounts. I have no investors, no partners, no billion-dollar backers behind me. Good for you, I guess. That neither of us knows how it will go due to the murky nature of cancel culture and its crisscrossing trips wires of implied and loosely enforced rules. And because of a hungry and fickle internet that doles out forgiveness or maybe forgetfulness seemingly at a whim. Okay, so we're placing the onus on the internet. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously people on the internet can jump on a bandwagon for sure, but at the same time, I'm not hearing any accountability. It's a landscape hellscape, some would say, in which all comebacks are tentative and where the conversation around an offense ends up obscuring the offense itself. I don't know if I would agree with that. I think a lot of people know why James Charles was cancelled. I think a lot of people know. People make jokes about it all the time. It's pretty common knowledge if you're chronically online and somewhere between the age of like 16 and 30 that James Charles spoke inappropriately with underage boys, and that's why he's in this space. Prior to that, he was known for like pretty much exclusively hitting on straight guys. He had so many situationships with bi-curious men who ended up not even being bi in the end, who were, in his words, just using him for clout.
Our boy situation started around the same time.
Yeah, we also have very similar
Taste.
tasting, guys, too.
Hot.
Masculine.
Straight. We just want what we can't have.
Yeah,
and
but we get it.
Oh my God, you tried to trick a straight man into thinking he's gay yet again, and somehow you're the victim.
So yeah, I don't know if the conversation around the offense is obscuring the offense itself. I would say people are pretty clear on why this is happening. When I polled friends and colleagues about Charles in the run-up to this day, the general consensus was that he had done something bad, but no one was clear on what. Wow, you guys are such great journalists. Here are the 3 videos that they're discussing, and the reason I put these here is because of what the author said. She says, as a very online millennial, I had long been ambiently aware of Charles, while also knowing next to nothing about him. Bored at home during the pandemic, I watched the Dramageddon feud he had with another YouTuber whose name I can never remember. A hilariously non-scandal scandal that possibly had something to do with hair vitamins. So you're a journalist and you can't even do the basic amount of research to find out who James was in a feud with. You can't even find out what Dramageddon was actually about. And it has nothing to do with being a millennial, right? I'm not saying all millennials should know about this. I'm saying you as a journalist should. And trying to make it seem like it was just a hilarious non-scandal scandal kind of diminishes the whole point. Yes, we can all laugh and be like, oh my God, it was about hair vitamins. But at the end of the day, Tati said some pretty interesting things in there.
You know, it's really disgusting to manipulate someone's sexuality, especially when they are still, you know, emerging into adulthood and don't quite have everything figured out. You are using your fame, your power, your money to play with people's emotions. You're threatening to ruin them. You're threatening to embarrass them. And you're doing that to have them behave sexually in your favor, even if they're straight. And you know what? That's not okay.
Tati made some pretty damning statements in there that James literally owned up to and apologized for. And then if you want to add in the factor of Shane and Jeffrey possibly being behind the whole situation and instigating it, that was a huge, huge situation that happened on the internet that a lot started from James letting the fame get to his head and his ego becoming too inflated. So to try and minimize it and say that the whole thing was a hilarious non-scandal scandal that had something to do with hair vitamins is just bad journalism. But I can see why she would do that, because she's trying to downplay all the stuff that James has been a part of. So I understand you. I see you, Gabrielle. Anecdotally, it seems like everyone in my life under the age of 25 considers Charles an internet celebrity, and no one over the age of 45 has ever heard of him unless they have kids. Well, duh. I don't understand why she thinks that points are being made here, because that's just literally common sense. In a corner of the internet known for constant sniping, backstabbing, and hopelessly convoluted rivalries, the same lack of guile and perma-logged on status that drew viewers to Charles also made him a magnet for drama. Well, I would say that a lot of the times, James made himself a magnet for drama, right? I mean, he's admitted this, you know, what did he call it back in the day? He called it a sister scandal, didn't he? And then she lists off a few of James's older minor dramas, like making an insensitive joke about Ebola when traveling to Africa, or commenting something like juggle me like that on a Shawn Mendes live stream. And I think the reason that the author does this is to paint it out like, oh, James Charles, you know, a lot of the drama he's been in is really minor and not important. You know, she kind of ignores the more serious stuff, like, you know, stealing makeup looks from other artists, allegedly.
I obviously have a very large following. That means a lot of people are looking at my work, right? And I'll get so many comments from small makeup artists that have like 600 followers being like, I did this last week, so where's my credit? The likelihood a big artist went to your page or even saw your page and then stole your work and then did it themselves and then didn't get credit is like literally zero.
And all the times he's hit on a bunch of influencers and made them uncomfortable. So Charles developed a reputation for a kind of over-the-top thirstiness.
Hopefully I'll also be able to get glammed up by some really hot surfer dudes as well with some washboard abs. I don't know. Me and my manager have been on Grindr the entire week and have not had any luck.
Get some Australian.
Sister, I've been trying. With surfer daddy, come here.
How you going?
I'm amazing now. How are you? Sister Nick did a really good job of being a daddy and gluing on my eyelashes. Do you want to finish me off today?
Yeah.
We love getting
Yeah. A quality that could be interpreted as refreshingly candid or slightly cringe. I would go with the latter personally. I don't know what's so candid about being so friggin' horny that it's like getting to the point where it makes people uncomfortable.
Excuse me, James Charles.
Yes, daddy.
Oh my god. I'm actually going to mukbang IHOP right now. You want to come?
Oh, I am pretty hungry, but can you just like bang me instead?
Hold the tips and push them together. Push the tips together.
Don't say that.
I'm not pushing the tips together.
Stop.
And then my stick can go into the box.
I'm hungry, stick in the box.
Oh, no.
Jesus.
You're so brave, Sweetie.
You are
Thank
so
you so much
brave.
for taking
So
on
who's
this
left?
challenge today.
Who is that?
Thank God we have you to protect us.
I'm hating it. Why is your leg twitching when you hug him like that?
I was twitching. What the f? Okay. I will admit that.
Same. I really was. Sorry, James.
Alright, ready to go. Ready to go.
At least one rival, it should be said, interpreted differently. His Dramageddon opponent initially accused Charles of using his fame to manipulate straight men. Yeah, so look, nothing wrong with being a little horny, nothing wrong with being a little thirsty, but James took it to the next level, and I personally find it very icky, the way that he used to talk back then about his sole attraction to straight men.
Makeup is perfectly done for our day after.
I'm sure you want to know all about Jeff.
Yes, I do. So, if you think there's the possibility of me hooking up with one of the Vlogs Club members, who would you say it would be and why?
I don't know about. I wouldn't put Jeff on the top of the list.
Hi, Jeff.
Well, can I squeeze it?
You can squeeze whatever you want.
The mic that you guys use, you don't have like lav mics on? You wearing a lav mic under here?
No? Do you want to check?
No?
Do you want to check in my notes? Can I check under you?
Yeah, you could check under there.
Anywhere
I got
there?
nothing. Okay, okay. It's one of those videos, huh?
You taught me so much. My mind is opened.
That's good.
And I'm gonna be thinking about this for the whole day.
I'm definitely open as well. Have you ever hooked up with a guy before?
No.
You should try it sometime.
No, I can't.
Like, you as a gay man trying to hit on and create something with a straight man is problematic for so many different reasons. One, you're setting yourself up for heartache and failure because they're not attracted to your gender. You know, James would always say that in the end that they were using him and stuff, but it's like, why would you even interact with them in the first place? I don't understand why James was never, ever, ever, ever hitting on and interacting with and having situationships openly out gay men. It was always straight men who, in his words, were bisexual, bi-curious, but they never ended up being the case.
A lot of times straight guys will still DM me to this day and like be into it. And like, sure, it's a fun hookup, like never opposed, but like that never turns into anything real because they're not comfortable enough with themselves to be with an actual guy.
And I just think it perpetuates that stereotype of gay men being P-words towards straight men, and it's the type of gay that people don't like. True to influencer form, she retracted the claim, meaning Tati, and apologized a year later. Yet all the drama seemed to ultimately earn him one thing: more followers. At his peak, Charles had nearly 26 million YouTube subscribers on top of the tens of millions on TikTok and Instagram. So I think what she's trying to say is like, oh, you know, this drama came out against James and it wasn't fair towards him. The person apologized. There's all these other little dramas. He actually ended up gaining followers from it. Trying to paint the picture that all the previous dramas before this one were actually not James's fault at all. They apologized. It was minor. He gained more followers. It's the internet's fault. It's the community's fault. Like, I'm not hearing or seeing any accountability at this point. If you are curious, I also included this screenshot because in the DMs, James said, haven't you made awful videos about me? These are all of the videos that I made in defense of James, discussing the bi-sister scandal and how so many of these grown-ass folk were coming out against him. These are 5 videos in defense of you. There's probably more, I'm just saying, James, so not all of them are awful. In February 2021, at age 21, Charles confronted a career crisis he couldn't quickly apologize for or capitalize on. Okay, so you're making it seem like James Charles capitalizes on controversies. You know, he loves a sister scandal. He was publicly accused of sending lewd photographs and inappropriate sexual messages to a then 16-year-old fan. Charles says he was misled into believing the boy was 18 and that he blocked him as soon as he learned the truth. I have never been more disgusted in my life than when I found out that boy was 16, Charles said. The fan did not return Cosmopolitan's request for comment. By now, you all have probably seen the clip, but James Charles went on the Impulsive podcast at one point.
The thing is, for me, I'm 21, but like I said, I have the mentality of a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I'm much more mentally and emotionally mature than a lot of people my age. I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. Like, I would date like the absolute youngest, like 18, 19 that looks a little bit older, or like 24 that like has a young personality.
Okay.
So like I'm in like a tough situation where like it's really hard for me to find people.
James has made it pretty clear that he's attracted to the younger guy. And I think that becomes a bit messy because obviously you run the risk of them lying about their age when you're already open to dating people who are 18 and 19, you know? A lot of times it's hard to tell with people's ages at that point. A lot of them, like, when I've seen the photos of the guys who shared their DMs with James, to me, they obviously look like teenagers. There was no stubble, there was baby fat. Maybe because he never got to have that experience in high school, because he says there was only other one gay kid in his high school, he's kind of looking for that teenage experience. But that's just my speculation. You know, that's probably something for the therapy couch, not for YouTube. And then over here, I do have 2 videos that are negative towards James. Those are 2 videos that I made talking about all the, you know, allegations coming out against him. So the allegations triggered more complaints against Charles of TikToks filled with screenshots of flirtatious conversations Charles had allegedly conducted with a number of male fans. A few reported accusations like the initial one were serious and claimed to detail inappropriate online interactions between Charles and underage guys. Almost all of them were eventually rounded up into viral Twitter threads by controversial poster, they're talking about Def Noodles, who keeps track of internet scandals, now under fire himself. In the end, substantiated or not, multiple media reports indicated that at least 15 boys and men had accused Charles of inappropriate behavior. Charles says now about the breadth of the allegations, the source of where the list came from was not doing any sort of research, no fact checking. Some of the screenshots depicted consensual conversations between adults, he says. Others were completely fake and never happened. So are you saying that none of them are true? Charles has never been legally charged with engaging inappropriately with an underage person, let alone proven to have knowingly done so. Yeah, just because he hasn't been charged with it doesn't mean it potentially allegedly didn't happen. It just means that a lot of the alleged victims haven't come forward about it, because why would they? It's a difficult thing to do. I've been in the past and I never came forward about it and spoke to authorities about it. It's a scary thing to do for anyone, let alone someone who is an alleged victim of a celebrity where there are tons of people online hating on them who are young. It's a scary thing to do. So just because he wasn't charged doesn't mean it allegedly didn't happen. Nevertheless, that April, Charles uploaded a 14-minute video titled Holding Myself Accountable, where he admitted to inadvertently exchanging messages with 2 16-year-old boys he said he was led to believe were 18, and he apologized for his desperate behavior. Okay. You know, so if he's claiming he did not know that they were underage, once again, like I said, when you're already attracted to younger looking guys, that's gonna be a risk for you. Treating your For You page on TikTok or Instagram, your DMs, as a dating app is problematic and inappropriate for so many reasons, but let's wait till the rest of the article. We'll see if James has changed, you know, because part of holding yourself accountable is apologizing for what you did and never doing it again, and minimizing the risks of you doing it again. So Cosmopolitan reached out to multiple people who said they were underage during the time of their exchanges with Charles. One asked if we'd be willing to pay and did not reply again when told our publication does not compensate sources for interviews. So I think what they're trying to say is like, oh, look, they're, you know, doing this for money, it's not real, when in all reality, what do they gain from giving you a statement for your article? This is all trying to like help James, so why would they give you information. So them asking for money, I don't see anything wrong with that. Get your coin because you're not getting anything else. But another former accuser wrote back via Instagram DM with a new revelation. He said he had previously apologized to Charles a few months ago for telling him he was 18 a few years ago and that the TikTok he made blew up the situation. When asked to elaborate, the person did not reply. Charles' team says that someone did message him during the spring admitting he lied about his age. Okay, that's one person, but like you guys said, there were 15 other people. So you've gotten responses from 2 people. What about the 13 others? So this is kind of everything they're referring to here. These are the screenshots from Def Noodle's Twitter page. He had a thread of all the different boys and men that had come out with all their allegations. There was a lot of picture and video proof, a lot of which James was sending inappropriate pictures of himself and his body to them. And Petty Page has come out and spoken about this recently. And Def Noodles also made a tweet recently saying, James Charles indirectly mentioned me in his Cosmopolitan article for the coverage of the allegations that were made against him 2 years ago. Here are my thoughts. 1, I created the thread attached below to help people parse through the countless allegations that were being made against James at a time where it seemed like literally every day there was a new one coming out. This is very true. There were lots of people doing it for clout, where they would purposely try and get in James's DMs and get screenshots and make videos about it. So what Def is saying, not that I agree with his behavior in recent times, was that he was trying to have a thread of all the allegations that had alleged video and photo proof so that he could give people a thread of all the allegations that, to the best of his abilities, seemed to be true. So the 15 to 20 that he showed were amongst the 100, 200 that had came out, right? So James says, oh, I absolutely did F up, but he denies that he ever engaged in G-wording, a practice defined by the anti-sexual violence organization RAIN as manipulative behaviors that an A-word uses to gain access to potential victims, coerce them to agree to do the A-word, and reduce the risk of being caught. Charles continues, I feel like that word is a very popular buzzword right now, especially in politics and stuff. What? Are you kidding me? Let's look at the definition of a buzzword. A buzzword, according to Google Dictionary, is a word or a phrase, often an item of jargon, that is fashionable at a particular time or in a particular context. You think the G word is fashionable, Mr. Charles? I think it's trendy. This is a crime. But the actual meaning of it has become misconstrued, he says. Referring to the first allegation against him, he adds the conversation lasted 1 hour. I don't know this person. I've never met this person. Nothing happened between me and this actual person. So to use that word is so categorically incorrect. What about all of the screenshots of the Snapchats that you sent to boys and men, asking them to send you inappropriate pictures of them, coercing them, being like, oh, it won't take that long, just one quick pic, send me an armpit pic, like countless alleged proof. On here is a screenshot that he said to someone. I'm pretty sure this person was above age, so I'm not trying to, say that. I'm just pointing out the type of stuff he said in the DMs, right? It's a really lucrative role. It's called My Boyfriend. Requirements, 6'2 plus, must love escape rooms, horror movies, and cuddling. Big D-word, armpit hair, an occasional FaceTime call. The salary is $0, but it's a good job offer, I think. Perks include a cute boyfriend with a great personality, a huge ass, free living in a $10 million house in LA. Oh, that we're allowing them to move in. Fun travel opportunities, good head, and more. I'm not a mental health professional, but Mr. Charles, you need therapy. This is not how relationships work. I know you've never been in one, but this is not how you do it. This is a major turnoff. And it's like really problematic considering that you're famous.
You were talking in detail about things you wanted to do to the waiter. And when I said, James, he's straight, your response was, doesn't matter, I'm a celebrity. So freaking gross.
But then he says, this happens weekly at this point. Some guys slide in my DMs or match with me claiming they're interested. We talk for a few days, and once they've had enough, they record the content for TikTok or tweets, they post it and claim they're straight. It's queer baiting and it's pathetic. No, what's pathetic is using social media as a dating platform when you're a social media star and constantly having people come out with it, people using you for clout, all of that kind of stuff. And then you having actual alleged victims, but like you continuing to do it. That's what's pathetic.
But a lot of times, like, there are TikTok boys that can't just pick up their life and move to LA, or aren't ready for an actual relationship.
But we'll get into why he's not using actual dating apps, okay? In the absence of hard evidence, according to you, hordes of commenters and bystanders gloomed onto the idea that Charles was creepy, irresponsible at best, possibly P-word at worst. His apology was full-throated, but it did nothing to quell the fury. After years of benefiting from online controversies, Charles had officially become too toxic for the internet, you're telling me. Okay, then the article talks about how YouTube demonetized him, he didn't return as the host of Instant Influencer, and how Morphe and him cut ties, although they say they cut ties per James Charles's team request. Not too sure about that. But I also show you here, once again, James Charles saying that I only made awful videos about him. Here's 2 videos of me, you know, reviewing and discussing the good parts of his reality show, Instant Influencer, which I enjoyed at the time. Me posting in the DMs and in a YouTube video showing his makeup palette when it came out. So yeah, such awful videos there. I'm just trying to prove a point about lack of bias, okay? I made positive videos about you when I felt I wanted to be positive about you, negative videos when I felt like I wanted to be negative about you, and they were all based on the stuff that you were doing at the time. Okay, anyway, I can't begin to explain how bad that week of my life was. I was crying myself to sleep every night. I was sitting there in bed staring at my phone. I wanted to K myself. I wasn't talking to anybody. People threw food into his yard and spray painted his property fence, prompting him to hire security. Yeah, that sucks. And I even said to him in the DMs, I said, it can become toxic so quick. Apologies if anything I said was too harsh and added it to any mental distress. He said, it's all right. I appreciate the viewership. I acknowledge that, yes, this whole situation would have been hard on his mental health, but do you know who else his mental health that would have been hard for? The alleged victims. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's literally the consequences of his actions. This part, the fallout became deeply personal when his younger brother, who works as a model in New York City, stopped talking to him because of the allegations. It's now been 2 years since they spoke, Charles said. Your brother cut you off and hasn't spoken to you for 2 years. And you're trying to say that none of this is true. If none of this is true, why would your brother not talk to you? Treading a well-worn post-scandal path, Charles spent the next few months mostly offline, doing a lot of self-reflection and conferring with mental health professionals. And while a couple months may seem like a laughably short time for a break, to Charles having no stage felt like an endless punishment. In the summer of 2021, Charles prepared a comeback video, a 30-minute video titled A Night for Conversation. So Charles kept posting, driven by what I'd armchair therapists diagnose as a compulsive need for online interaction. You're not a therapist, so why are you diagnosing him? It's just not his brand. It's been his entire personality since grade school. Okay, we get it. He likes attention. Also, I put this video down here that Petty Page actually uploaded today or yesterday as I'm filming this. Really great video. I highly recommend you watch it. So romantic relationships would become a whole other challenge, one that ultimately led to the incidences, he said. Finding dating prospects in the rare field influencer celebrity strata he eventually vaulted into was tough. I'm not sure why that's tough. There are so many influencers who date each other. This is a quote. Quickly, please, name 5 famous male gay celebrities from the ages of 20 to 25, he says. You can't because they don't exist. Okay, they obviously do exist, James. That's insane for you to say. Also, you're 24. So why is your dating age bracket pool 20 to 25? Anyway, I did you the favor of finding a bunch of gay and bi men between the ages of 22 and 29. I know that's possibly not your preferred age bracket. In my opinion, it's the more appropriate one. Not to mention, James, I don't know who has to tell you this, but you're not a traditional celebrity. Why don't you just date another gay influencer? There are so many of them. It should not be that hard for you. Well, actually, I guess it kind of is, given everything that's happened. That's probably what's making it hard. Okay, not that the fact that there's not enough of them out there. Probably just your past. So his biggest mistakes, he now thinks, were making himself too available and recklessly hitting on anyone he thought might be showing him interest. His intention was never to prey on underage people, he says. He tried to explain all this in his Holding Myself Accountable video, but it just didn't come across right, he reflects. I've been effed over by men so many times at this point, I just want an effing boyfriend. Somebody that's gonna love me, that's going to care for me. So a lot of times I just go into talking to somebody with rose-colored glasses. Yeah, James, you're just too desperate. If there's one thing that's really unappealing to people in the dating world, it's being desperate. You can be desperate, you just can't show it, and you are showing it too much. Here's a screenshot I got of a TikTok he made back in the day where he wanted to do the TikTok Bachelor. Why are you using your social media this way? You are rich. Not only can you get on the dating app for celebrities, Raya, you can also hire a professional matchmaker. There's speed dating, there's blind dates, friends of friends. Like, there are so many other options. I don't know who, at this level, why are you continuing to do this? And I know he's continuing to do it because the interviewer says, I still have to ask though, why didn't he just stick to actual adult dating apps? He tells me he previously had accounts on Raya, Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble. And while he did go on dates with people he met there, he ultimately felt too exposed. Like anyone he swiped right on was going to take screenshots of their conversations or brag to their friends about it. Is that not happening? with the people that you're DMing with on social media? Is that not also happening there? If anything, I would argue this is a much better way of meeting people and going on dates than using your social media, because people have to verify that they're of age on these apps. You could possibly match with people who don't know who you are, because on social media, you're literally using your accounts that have the millions of followers. It's people who know who you are. I don't understand the logic because there is none. He's more cautious now, although not so much that he's given up on the DM sliding completely. After everything that's happened, you're still sliding into guys' DMs. When will you learn? This is not what holding yourself accountable is. Holding yourself accountable is apologizing for the messed up thing that you did, reflecting on it, and never ever doing it again and minimizing the risks of doing it again. This is literally all what you did that got you into this situation in the first place. I don't get it. This is why I said I tried to give James the benefit of the doubt, but he's doing the exact same thing that he did back then. Who's to say it's not going to end up the same? Well, this is his defense, right? Instead, he stated requiring potential romantic interest to provide IDs before he'll engage. I'm a club bouncer at this point, he says, which even still hasn't stopped occasional breach of trust. Earlier this year, a TikTok user shared snippets of a flirtatious conversation he had with James, in which Charles outlines his requirements for a boyfriend. I think I showed you that earlier. Charles also tells me he recently caught a 17-year-old trying to lie about his age by taking out a digit on his ID. So clearly your system doesn't work. And it goes back to James being into younger guys. In the Impulsive podcast, he was like,
I've talked to guys that live in different states and stuff, and I'm like, hey, like, why don't you come visit? And like, well, I can't afford a plane ticket. And it's like, okay, well, I can. So like, get on the plane. And like, well, I just don't really feel comfortable with that. But like, I love you and I really want to be together. And I'm like, well, we can't be together because you can't afford a plane ticket. You're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college.
Right.
So like, either you accept the flight and realize that like, this is what I'm bringing to the relationship so we can spend time together if you actually care about me. Or we literally never meet because you can't afford it.
maybe you should date guys that aren't a senior in high school. You know, maybe date guys with like a job, who live out of home, who have a car, who have money. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. More than anything, Charles seems focused on his goal, which is really to reclaim his spot in the cultural mainstream. That's your goal, huh? Your goal is not to get people to not think that you're a P-word. Your goal is to get your spot back in cultural mainstream. Eventually, he hired a PR firm to help. Only recently. He should have had one from the get-go. They were trying to get me into every single event and premiere and red carpet and show, and every single one of them was a no. Oh, so that's why you get a PR team, to get you on red carpets. Not to actually help you with your public relations, as in having a good relationship with the public. It just seems to me that all he cares about is clout and fame. He still has a big ego. That clearly hasn't changed. Ultimately, the gatekeepers softened. Charles started making significant appearances. Okay, we get it. Problematic people can go on red carpets. We've been new. But if anyone knows what it feels like to have the full wrath of the internet bearing down on you, it's Charles. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. Everybody F's up, he says. Yeah, I don't think everyone's talking to underage people inappropriately. That's like a subsect group of people, and most of those people like lose their careers or like end up in prison. Just saying. Don't get me wrong, I definitely don't think people should be able to do whatever they want and not be held responsible for it. It's important that people are held accountable, but I think it's important that we all allow people to grow and learn. The idea that somebody F's up and their entire life and career and everything they've worked so hard for should be swept out from under their feet is just horrifying. Yeah, but it's also the consequences of your actions. When your ego is so inflated, you know, all that fame, power, money gets to your head, you think that you are invincible. This is evidence, everything that's happened, that you are not. But at the end of the day, in some ways you still are. Like, you're rich, you're privileged, you're white, you're famous, and you've got off, in a lot of people's minds, scot-free, because there should have been more serious ramifications for the stuff that you did. So you making this article was the complete opposite effect that you thought it would of a career redemption. It actually makes you seem that you are playing the victim, you don't take seriously what anybody else has said about you, the alleged victims, that it's all fake and lies. You say that you've held yourself accountable, but then you're repeating the same behaviors that got you here in the first place. And the entire thing is just a woe is me. Like, I just don't get it. So this is the final statements from Gabrielle Bluestone. In our own messy, imperfect way, maybe we're starting to calibrate our responses to the severity of an offender's offense. Maybe we arrived at the point where we're doling out appropriate levels of social censure. Or maybe we're just tired of keeping score and ready to scrub the path of least resistance, letting our feeds figure it out for us. So basically what she's saying is like, this is on us. This is the internet's fault. Everybody blew it out of proportion. Everybody made it seem so much bigger than it actually was. It was all based on lies. This article is literally one of the worst articles I've ever read on an influencer. It was so freaking bad. How could his PR team approve this if they even read it? Because to me it seems like they didn't read it. If all their focus is getting him on red carpets. You guys, I just wanted to show you that, break it down for you. Honestly, James, you just shouldn't have come out with this article. It's not doing what you think it is. But you know what? Like, good luck with your pain, I guess. Anyway, guys, that's it for me in this video. If you enjoyed it or found it informative, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with a friend. Spread the message. Make sure that you comment down below your thoughts. I would love to know. I really want to hear your opinion and what you think about what I've said. If you haven't already, I'm very active on all my social media, so follow me down below, as well as make sure that you subscribe and turn on the bell to my YouTube channel. Check out my Patreon, where I post my videos with early access, extended videos, bonus videos, podcast vlogs, all that kind of stuff. Shout out to my Curious Cat patrons, a special shout out to my Queen Bee patrons, and a very special shout out to my Butterfly Bestry patrons, Dominic, Tracy, Jen, Phoebe, Justice, Hannah, Audrey, Kaylee, Anne Marie, Haley, Somerset, Holly, and Kayla. Thank you to all my patrons. I appreciate you all so much. And remember, if you want to become one, click the link in the description for extra bonus content. Alrighty guys, that's it for me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see my next one. And as always, I hope that you have a great day or night wherever you're in the world. Bye!